Well, here we are. You all thought you were going to get rid of me for a week, and yet here I am still lecturing in your ears, do this, do that. Well, that's my job. So here we go. We are going to work on page Word 64, and we're going to add borders and shading to a Word document. So ready or not, here we go. Now don't forget, because this is a video, you can always click on the pause button if you need me to slow down a little bit so you can catch up to what we're doing on the screen. So here we go. First thing we're going to do is we're going to click on this folder. It's on our Lessons tab here in Blackboard. So under the Lessons tab, click on the folder In Class March 17th. And that's going to open up this Word file that we're going to use for the in-class work that we're working on. And it should open up our document in Word. I'm going to click on OK. Opens up Microsoft Word. If I were there in class, I'd be saying, then what does Microsoft Word do? And you all would say, it's word processing. And I would say, yay! Then we're going to click on Enable Editing, so that way we can work on this document that's up here in the top of the screen. Enable Editing. And here is the file that we're going to work on. So the first thing I suggest you do, since you're going to be turning this in, is put in your name. So I selected your name. It's highlighted in gray. I'm going to type in my name. And then the same thing with today's date. I'm going to highlight that so that it's selected in gray. And I'm going to put in today's date. Okay. I'm going to follow along with the book so you can follow along with the steps that they're doing. First thing it asks us to do is to highlight this group of text. So I'm going to highlight all of those. We're going to be working on those, and we're going to add a border and some shading around it. Okay. Next thing it asks us to do is to select the shading option, which is this little paint bucket here at the top on our ribbon. If you don't see this paint bucket, make sure that the Home tab is selected. So under the Home tab, to the middle here, the little paint bucket, if I hold my mouse over it, it says Shading. So I'm going to click on the Shading. And then it says that we're going to apply Green Accent Lighter 60. Now that's a lot of fancy words for. Let's go over to this green color. So you can see that we're adding a green background to our text. Green Accent 6 is the name of this particular square, green, and it said to use lighter 60. I don't really care what you highlight it with, that's completely up to you, but this is what the book's looking for. You can see this little drop down box that says Green Accent 6. You can see that the text is receiving a nice green shaded background. So I'm going to click on that box in order to highlight our text. Not highlight, but put a green background behind it. Next thing the book asks, we're looking at step number 3, is talking about changing our indent markers. What we're talking about here is these tabs. See, we have a ruler here at the top of our page. If you're not seeing the ruler, what you want to do is go up to our tabs here, our navigation tabs, and go over to where it says View. So I'm going to click on View. And then there's a check mark here in my ruler box. So if there's a check mark, the ruler is going to show. If there's not a check mark, the ruler is not going to show. And you can see that toggling on and off as I click on that box. So I'm going to keep my ruler on, and I'm going to come back here to the Home tab. And the way that these rulers work, these indent markers, is it tells us where our text is going to stop and where our text is going to begin. So for just this group of text that I have highlighted, I'm going to click on the very bottom of this series. There's an arrow that's pointing down, there's an arrow that's pointing up, and then there's this square box that says left indent. So if I click on it, right on that box, and drag, now first of all you can see a dotted line that shows up. My mouse button is pressed down. I've not released my mouse button. So hold down the mouse button, you'll see that dotted line, and that indicates where the text is going to start on the left hand side. In other words, if I click and drag this indent marker in, you can see that the text is also being dragged in, so it's going to start at a different location than the rest of my text. So that is a nice way to indent text. I'm going to do the same thing with my right marker. Notice I just have the one option, the arrow that's pointing up. Click on it, hold my mouse down, I can see that dotted line. That's showing where the text is going to end, and that text being the text that I have highlighted. So now if I drag this to the left, I'm going to bring in where that text ends. So I have a nice little indented area. That's step number 3. So step number 4 is talking about adding borders. So I'm going to come back up to my Home tab, and here is our borders icon. If I just click on it, you can see that there's an underlining here in the little icon at the bottom. So if I click on that, I see I have a border at the bottom of my little pretty box here, but I want to do a little bit more than that. So I'm going to click on this little arrow that's pointing down to the right of my border window, and I have more options. For example, the book suggests doing an outside borders. You can see if I have outside borders, if you look at your little box, there's underlined, there's a border all the way around the text. I can do all borders, no border. I've got lots of choices there. But we're going to go a little bit further. I'm going to come down here to the option that says borders and shading at the very bottom of this menu. The book suggests we choose the box setting. It's not showing up live here on our document, but I'm getting an idea of what it's going to look like over here in this right-hand pane. So there's different choices. We could highlight, we could have our border have dots all around them, bigger dots, bigger dots, but the book suggests we use the double lines. Okay. The book wants us to change the color, so there's the green that the suggested color is. It says, oh, it's blue, I guess. Blue. And then we're going to choose one of the, looks like it's looking for darker 25%, so I'll choose darker 25%, which is this one right here. The color really doesn't matter. I'm just trying to match the color that the book suggests, and so that way if you're trying to work through the book on your own, you can see what it is that it's referring to. So in step number 6, when it says click the blue accent 5 darker 25%, as you can see, if I hold my little mouse over these different colors, that's where the book is getting those colors that they're defining, blue accent 5, darker 25%. So I'll click on that, and then again you can see here in my pane what that's going to look like. My double border is going to have that blue color to it. Okay. And then the book suggests that we change the width of our lines. I think the book suggests we go as high as 1.5, which seems pretty thick to me, but that's what it's going to look like. And then another addition that's not in the book, but which I think looks neat, is we're going to add a shadow. So see here on the left-hand side where it says shadow, I'm also going to click on that, and now you can see that a little shadow, it just adds dimension to our box. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to choose OK. And you can see what it's done to our box here. We've got the double blue lines around it, we've got the green shading, and we've got the box shadow. And then as a refresher, we still have all of this text selected, so we can bold it. Now that's all nice and bold. We can change the color of the font so it's the same color as our outline, our border. Here's our font icon, the one with the A and a color bar underneath it. If I click on that little drop down arrow to the right of it, I get presented with lots of different colors. Again, the book suggests the blue. They like the darker blue, so we'll go with that just because that's what's in the book. It says blue accent 5, darker 25%. That's this arrow right here, this box right here. I'm going to click on that. And then if I click away, I should see all of those changes that took place. So in that lesson, we did borders, we put background color, we put a little text shadow, and adjusted the font coloring a little bit.